Hi, I'm JoJo. Welcome to my corner. Hello. I hope that you're doing great today. So today I wanted to talk about my dad. It's been 4 years since he walked on, and he is greatly missed. And I wanted to share some of my favorite memories of my father. He was a really good dad. He did work a lot, and he was tired when he came home and stuff like that. But he always found ways to spend time with me and get to know me. And I did the same. Like, I can remember when I was young, I would get up early in the morning, like at 4 o'clock in the morning, so that I could go downstairs and sit with him while he was having his coffee and listening to his radio show. Sometimes we would talk about what was on the radio. He used to listen to Coast to Coast, and so it was always very interesting conversations. I'd talk to him about what I was going through, or things that were on my mind, or maybe dreams that I had, or hard times that I was having. My dad tended to be a lot more emotionally available than my mom on a regular basis. My mom, she faced a lot of health challenges, and I'll share more stories about that later on, but we're talking about my dad here. Some of my favorite memories of my dad. Now, when I would get really upset, because I've always been very highly sensitive, empathetic, and emotional, and I absorbed other people's emotions and feelings. And then I also had very intense emotions and feelings of my own. And, sometimes kids would be mean to me because I was chubby and I was a smart girl. And we also, we grew up in poverty. So we didn't get new clothes during the school year and things like that. So, and then when I got into middle school, I was also in band. So I really got picked on a whole lot. We also had to ride the school bus, which was, another difficult thing. And I grew up in the late 80s and through the 90s, and I graduated high school in 2002. So my world was a lot different than the world right now. Whenever I would get picked on or have difficulties like that at school and such, my dad, I remember one of the things that he would tell me that has stayed with me all my life. And he would say, "Joe, you're pure sunshine. Not everybody likes the sunshine. You can't let that stop you from shining." And then he would tell me that I have a special gift. And that gift was that I could smile at somebody and it could change their whole world, change their whole day, and change their whole perception. And that became the basis to what he would tell me throughout my life, which he would tell me, smile at everybody. And I actually got a tattoo after he had passed of that, just so that every time I look at it, I can hear my dad. I can hear my dad say, Smile at everybody. And it reminds me to have grace with myself and grace with others, as well as give me the confidence to know that my smile is my special power. Another one of my favorite memories is when I was younger, my dad had a concrete business. On the weekends, me and him would clean his work trucks together, and he'd play me music that he liked, and I'd play music that I liked, and like we'd share music and we'd tell stories, and he would teach me how to clean a car real good. He taught me how to clean windows without leaving streaks, and he really taught me the basis of the value of taking care of your pony, like your vehicle, your pony, and showing it love and gratitude. And it became something that we did together for many years. And when I got into my teenage years, like my older teenage years, cleaning his vehicle would be like a way that I could make money, because we didn't really have an allowance, but we could earn money by making good grades, doing extra big chores, not like the regular chores, but like extra chores. Those were usually tough ones. But then I could also clean my dad's vehicle out every weekend, and he would tell me that I could keep all the change in the truck, and as long as I left him $2 in quarters for the air machine. So even that became like a special thing. I really loved it when he would show me music that he loved, and he'd be like, "Joe, listen to her voice. Boy, she can sing." I miss that too. Another favorite memory that I have of my dad was when my daughter was fighting leukemia, my youngest daughter, and I had to go to another city about 3 hours away from where we lived, and I couldn't take my other child to the hospital because she was going to have a transplant. And my dad, I asked him to come and stay with my mom and my other daughter at my house for the 3.5, 4 months that we would have to be gone, because I had noticed some odd people like stopping in front of our house and stuff, because we hadn't been home very much. And I'll share more of that journey later on. But my dad, I asked him to come and stay with my mom and my daughter because I was concerned about their safety. And he did, even though my parents were divorced and they didn't really talk. So I know it was really awkward for them to both be staying at my house with my daughter for so many months. And I'm sure it put him in a difficult position because he was in another relationship, which we'll talk about that also with the curse of Cruella Crane. So be on the watch for that story series. But my dad really sacrificed a lot to come and stay with my oldest daughter and my mom, because I was concerned for their safety while we were gone. And I didn't want anybody to know or see that my mom and my daughter were in this house alone for so long. And so he did that. He really did that. And they made it fun for my oldest daughter. And one of the favorite things that I remember is my mom sent me a video, and my daughter was like, racing with my dad across the yard. And, she was just small. She was only, 2.5 years old. And she would say, "Ready, set, go." And they would both take off running. And it was the sweetest thing. And for that, I'm very grateful. And then later on, I found myself in a very bad relationship and lost in alcohol addiction. And I honestly wasn't far from losing everything in my life. And I guess when I was blacked out, really, I was blacked out from the alcohol. I called him, and I still don't have memory of this, but I called him, and he said that I said, "Daddy, please come save me." And then he told me that when I said that, it's like he could hear my inner child call out to him. He said that I sounded just the way I did when I was a little girl. And he did. He showed up and he saved me. He saved me and my children. Literally brought me to a whole different state. Let me detox in his basement while he watched my kids. He packed up my whole house and moved me to another state. And he saved me without hesitation. He told me, a year after I got sober, that he was really proud of me because he always used to tell me to be the buffalo. And when he would tell me to be the buffalo, it would be a phrase that he'd say to tell me to keep moving forward and to be fearless and to not give up and to be strong, to only see in front of me. And then he told me, he said, "I'm really proud of you. You became the buffalo." And I'll always treasure that. And I remember it always. And after I moved here, he always was there for me. Like every week he would drive over here in his cute little Ford Ranger truck with his lawnmower in the back, mowed my yard every week for years. He'd come in and have coffee with me, and we'd talk about life. I'm so grateful that my dad always listened to me. And that's what I miss the most. He always had such wise words to say to me. One of the sweetest things that I remember when I'm feeling down or need to pick me up, and he'd say, sometimes you just need to have a candy bar with your coffee in the morning. And sometimes I do. My dad taught me so much about life, about myself, about spirituality. He was a sun dancer, and he danced for the people. We are Lakota, and the people being able to overcome addiction it's very important to him, to us. My dad also fought alcohol addiction, and he overcame it. And, you know, he was more than 30 years sober when he walked on. He used to tell me stories about growing up on the reservation. He didn't talk much about it because it was painful for him. But he would tell me stories of hunting and fishing and playing basketball. He was a good basketball player. I remember one time when we were kids, my dad, he built us a basketball goal. And, you know, like he had a piece of plywood and he used the saw to cut it out and used spray paint to make the square on the board. And he had, like a basketball goal, the hoop part, like salvaged it and put it on the side of the barn for us. And I remember how much kids like made fun of us because it was pretty large. It was much larger than a regular basketball. But we loved it. We had so much fun, and Dad would play basketball with us. You know, sometimes kids can be pretty mean, but, you know, little things like that my dad did for us. The last few years he was here, every time it was school time, like to get ready for school, he had saved money for my children to help with their school supplies. And, you know, he was on Social Security. That was a big deal for him, you know. He did it every year. My dad, he really loved me, and I really love him. And he is very greatly missed. Thank you for listening to my stories today. Makes me happy. Sunshine in my eyes can make me cry. Sunshine on the water looks so lovely. Sunshine almost all the time makes me high. If I had a day that I could get to you, I'd get to you a day just like today. If I had a song that I could sing for you, I'd sing the song to make you feel this way. Hold on, baby. Sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy. Sunshine in my eyes can make me cry. Sunshine on the water looks so lovely. Sunshine almost all the time makes me high.
Almost all time makes me high.